Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to Libservative, a special brunch edition. What are we like 36 hours and 21 minutes late on our show this week, but we're here and we're still not that queer, but it
Just
depends on who you ask.
Drinking the whole time.
So good. So good. Very special. Corey and I are both wearing our robes.
And I'm wearing this little shirt here that goes with a very important day today.
Yeah, we had to get the show in so early today because obviously it's the game today, Michigan.
The game.
So for sure, seeing as it's 10:22, we got to be out of here by like 11:30. So there's no way the show's going to go over an hour and 10 minutes.
It can't.
Because we actually have an appointment to get to today. So we got to make sure we mow through this entire thing quickly. We have a long list of stuff to cover.
Yeah, give my kid a quick little bit of childhood trauma by hearing me yell at an inanimate object on the TV when people can't hear what I'm saying.
What would be funny is if he starts impersonating you doing said yelling at television set.
Whenever the team does something good and I'm like woo, and I clap and stuff, Corey's always like, yeah, go blue.
even if Michigan's not playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yesterday I was watching the Lions game, and actually that's a whole nother game. That would actually be something that maybe I guess worth mentioning. They kind of did okay against one of the best teams in the nation.
Yeah. Well,
still an L.
I could go over why they lost that game till I'm blue in the face, but this is not a sports show.
Well, my son is Bills Mafia because he kept saying go blue. And I was like, oh, we want the Lions, buddy. He goes, no, I want the blue.
I'm not blue right now. It is 10:23 in the morning here, Eastern, I guess, standard time now. And I'm, halfway through a Bloody Mary. And I've also got on deck a pineapple beer mousa. So this is going to be an interesting day. I'm going to be asleep by halftime of the Michigan game. That's exactly what's going to happen here.
So I got my extra shot of espresso from Starbucks.
I just bought an espresso machine yesterday, so.
Oh, fancy.
Just for this occasion. That's exactly why I bought it.
Turning it on Sunday.
Anyway, we're going to be watching American football today, but as we know, taking the global stage through the basically almost Christmas would be the World Cup in just a fantastic, gorgeous, beautiful Middle Eastern country. I mean, that's what the shills over at Fox, who are broadcasting the 2022 World Cup from Qatar or Qatar, who the hell cares how you say it. That's how they basically portray it. It's gorgeous. It's a wonderful place to vacation if you want to see, migrant workers dying in the streets. So please go check out Doha
if you want to enjoy the experience of Fire Festival. If you missed that one.
That's the other thing about this World Cup is like you won't see that part on Fox about these people that spent, what was it, $400 a night to stay in a shipping container because they didn't have enough space to house all these people. And then you look at like the backdrop or like the skyline of Doha, Qatar, and it looks gorgeous. It really does. It's just, you can tell it's just this weird facade because I've known this for a long time because I think they announced the 2022 World Cup host nation in like 2011. Like they do this stuff like forever in advance. And it was a huge controversy then about like, how does this tiny Middle Eastern country that nobody's ever heard of, get this thing? If anything, you would think it would be something like Saudi Arabia or obviously Israel. But no, this tiny little country gets it. And immediately thereafter, you're going, how the hell are they going to do this? Well, the answer is they're
not. I mean, they are, but like terribly.
But the way they're going to do it is they're going to basically coax a bunch of migrant workers from, and I think you had the
6,500.
No, the sheet. Did you send me the sheet that broke down where all the migrant workers in Qatar came from, or did I find that myself? I can't remember.
No, I haven't.
So I
I
mean,
know.
the
Go ahead.
Qatari government basically just goes out and finds all these migrant workers from really mostly Southeast Asia, right? Mostly Indians.
Yep.
Some Sri Lankans.
Yeah, we had 2,700 people from India that died, 1,600 from Nepal, 1,000 from Bangladesh, 824 from Pakistan, and 557 from Sri Lanka.
So what the Qatari government does is they go and they find these poor people in these poorer areas of Southeast Asia. They say, hey, come work for the Qatari government, or come work for, companies that are shilled out to the Qatari government. We'll pay you great wages. You'll live with us. We'll give you housing. But what they don't say is that, most of these
We're going to take your visas.
can't leave. So you're essentially slaves. And some of the worst conditions that you're going to see there we're talking like so poor that it's like 12 people to a 10 by 10 room exposed to the elements, because that's the type of Middle Eastern oil based, production tiny nation that Qatar is. It's either you're either super fucking rich or you're super fucking poor. There literally is no middle class in a nation like Qatar, but we're supposed to sit here and just believe that everything's great. Look, we're all playing soccer. The world's coming together. Come visit Qatar. We love you.
We're just detaining gay journalists, and giving out yellow cards for LGBTQ flags on uniforms and shit.
So that's interesting to me, because I've heard a few different angles on this, right? I know about the English armbands that they were going to wear, but the U.S. men's national team also was expected to change the stripes on their crest,
and they didn't, did they?
To rainbow, and they did not. But like the angle that I kept hearing on this when it first happened, right? You would look at like publications like PragerU, you would look at publications like Breitbart going, "Oh my God, the U.S. men's national team has gone woke. They're gonna put a rainbow on their crest." And I went, okay, here's the thing. You could have that beef if this were the next World Cup where it's in North America, right? Like, this is a situation where the U.S. men's national team and the English players as well were legitimately protesting gay rights issues in the nation in which they were going to play. Like, sometimes you can't just hide behind, ridiculous wokeness. Sometimes there's actually a protest to be had. And to me, like, this was one of those situations. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Here in America, I see it exactly the same. So here in America, we talk about how the LGBT like rainbow flag is used as almost like a prop, sort of a way to just get some extra revenue, make people like them. It's a promotions thing. But over in Qatar, that's an actual protest. You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
There's people over there that are being killed for that. So to go there showing that is to show American value.
Yeah.
And I'm more upset that they said they were going to do it and then they cucked out to the Qatar instead of actually doing it.
And FIFA doing the same thing. It was just like, because I'm generally with conservatives a lot of the time when they complain about, over like wokeness being shoved in your face. But this is that kind of woke derangement syndrome that I've talked about in the past, where it's like everything they see has to be a problem. They're coming for your kids. And it's like, no, this is a situation where these
people are murdered over just like personal freedoms.
This is a legitimate protest, right? Yeah. This is a real protest.
The only ones that had the balls to actually protest there, it seems, though, is what was it? Like the Iranians.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. They did not sing the national anthem. All the Iranians in the crowd booed it. There's some shit going on there, man.
Now, I don't think they could figure out whether or not the fans were booing the players for not singing the anthem or actually booing the anthem. I don't think that's actually been resolved yet. And you're not going to see it on Fox because they've already shilled out to, the petro states that are in the Middle East. So,
well, based on what's going on in Iran, every time someone's killed, more people are protesting. Like, that's still going wild over there. women are burning their hijabs and stuff. So I'd like to think they were protesting the song.
But then
That's the propaganda that we're going to get fed anyways.
Yeah, but then you also have to think about it from the perspective of the fact that Qatar is also a pretty Islamic conservative country.
And a lot of those fans were paid by them to be there.
Yeah.
That was another thing of this. Like, this whole thing is just a fucking debacle. It's Firefest 2.0. They invited the whole world there, and now they're not allowing Jewish prayer. They're not allowing kosher food. Beer was just banned
2 days before the event
2
started.
days before the event started, and there's
Bunch
no
of
beer
soccer
allowed.
hooligans making their way to Doha and can't get any fucking beer.
Right? And then what was another one? There's the video of the journalist getting arrested. There was another. Oh, all those people, they paid a shit ton of people to come to the country to watch the game and then offered them per diem money. And then when they got there, they're like, oh yeah, no money for you. Sorry, bud. Hey, Bright Nice.
Oops, sorry.
Nolan Richards had asked, would you bow down to Biden? If he asked you to, it wouldn't really mean anything if you did. No.
I don't really know what that question's supposed to mean.
I don't know what it means, but I don't bow. He ain't no king. He's a public servant. And in fact, he can get me a glass of water.
A public servant that doesn't serve very well.
He works for me. I don't work for him.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be awesome if the president was just forced to bow to all the people that he meets one on one?
Fucking should.
I like that idea.
Kiss my shoes, bitch.
Oh God! The problem is now you're expecting Trump to bow. Oh man! So
bend over. I'll tell him where to.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so the reason why Fox and obviously most of the West is shilling to Qatar over this World Cup. I pulled this from the U.S. State Department. It was published in December of 2020, so it's a little old, but I can't imagine a whole lot's changed since then. So bilateral economic relations between the United States and Qatar. The United States and Qatar have extensive economic ties as Qatar's largest foreign direct investor and its single largest source of imports. The United States has developed a robust trade relationship with Qatar, with over 120 U.S. companies operating in country. U.S. exports to Qatar increased by 47.7% from 2018 to 2019, totaling $6.5 billion in 2019. The United States is a leading equipment supplier and a partner for Qatar's oil and gas industry. And U.S. companies have played a significant role in the development of the oil and gas sector in Qatar. Wow.
Blood money.
Wow. And in addition to energy, U.S. companies also performed well in export sales to Qatar's defense, aviation, ICT, healthcare, food, and engineering and construction sectors. Interesting how the first one there is defense.
Yeah.
U.S. imports from Qatar include liquefied natural gas, aluminum, fertilizers, and sulfur. The United States and Qatar signed a trade and investment framework agreement and participate in annual bilateral strategic dialogues. Qatar announced a plan to invest $45 billion in the United States, in addition to billions of dollars worth of military and aviation, energy, and ICT contracts. This is coming straight from the State Department. Okay, so if you wonder why there's no coverage of the human atrocities that take place in Qatar,
because money talks.
Look no further than Saudi Arabia. It's almost the same relationship. The interesting part is that the Saudis and the Qataris don't really have a great relationship at the moment. That's an interesting geopolitical discussion that can be saved for another day. But it's always the same story, right? When you start hearing about decent publications like actual journalists reporting on things like human atrocities in Middle Eastern countries, you go, well, why isn't nobody talking? Why isn't the mainstream media talking about this? I mean, look, just go to the State Department's website and you will see why the mainstream doesn't talk about stuff like this. It's the same old song and dance every time. And I know I kind of feel like a hypocrite because I am enjoying the soccer, but it's like, what does me not watching it help?
Yeah, I haven't even watched any of it. That kind of leads to my next topic, though. how literal blood oil makes Corey's blood boil.
Oh, you want to move to the Saudis now?
Well, we mentioned them. I mean, are you done talking about Qatar and how they suck?
Yeah, I mean,
It's just
I guess the only other thing I would add is that, you know, the hypocrisy here is palpable when you talk about the issues that you happen to see in Islamic states versus what you see in the United States. Like, this is what makes me so irritated when people in America want to pretend like there are like these unbelievable human rights violations here domestically, right? When you want to put everything on race or you want to put everything on gender, like there are actual human rights atrocities that are taking place that we just ignore. And these are the same people that often go that, you know, that want to, you know, pretend like gay rights are about to be taken away in the United States. These are the same people that'll go, well, not all Muslims are responsible for this stuff. And it's like, yeah, you're right. But it does, like, Islamic extremism and religious states do take place in the Middle East, and it does cause human rights violations.
yeah, perspective is basically what you're saying.
Exactly. The hypocrisy is pretty
Little perspective. Yeah, it's always important to continue our strive to be a better country and force ourselves to face our demons and things like that. But being able to protest here and stuff like that is a constitutional right. Like in other places, you can get killed for it. You have people in our country that aren't, I mean, some are in power, sure, but don't have the power to just murder gay people for the sake of being gay.
right.
And those gay people still have constitutional protections and still have due process and all that stuff. And in other countries, they just don't.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when it comes to certain protests in the United States, at least the way I see it is, yeah, you have the right to do it. Go ahead and protest anything, you know. But the problem is you start to lose the strength of what that protest represents when you start protesting fucking everything. When you start trying to cancel people on social media for every little critique word that they say and or type out or whatever. And it just starts to lose its luster to where normies like you and me are like, yeah, I don't really believe in your cause anymore because it doesn't.
I think that's what we're starting to see now too. Is
Yeah.
the like when people are talking about like the end of wokeism, we're starting to see a bit of an ebbing. And then, like we did a huge moral compass calibration about certain words to be said, certain demeanors, certain things like that, and it pushed the needle for like personal liberty really far. But then it got to the point where like it's like, you lost me. Like every single step more was like, you lost me, you lost me. And now it's starting to come back a little bit. And there was still huge amounts of progressivism in the last couple of years, but it reached a point where everyone's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, it just gets to a point where it starts to become noise.
Yeah, it's because you could be as woke as you want, but if no one else wants to be woke with you, then it's all for naught.
Well, then you want to point out like we need to protect gay rights or we need to protect trans rights, and I go, okay, yeah, I agree with that, but just like try to tell me what rights I have that the gay man standing next to me doesn't have. And it's because there aren't any.
And no, yeah, and it's important to distinguish between rights and acceptance from your dumbass neighbor.
Correct.
You're always going to have jackasses that disagree with anything you do. There's people that still get pissed that guys pierce their ears. You still see people talking shit about tattoos. There's always going to be naysayers and contrarians to any scenario. But gay people fundamentally, as of recently, have the same rights under marriage, going into stores, doing anything that you and I can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And being denied business, it's not a business owner. You don't have a right to business, right? As people bring up things like the cake incident, like the wedding cake incident. It's like, all right, if that homophobe doesn't want your fucking business, take it elsewhere. Give it to somebody who actually wants it. Why the hell do you got to make a big deal out of it?
Right. I mean, yeah. I feel like, especially with social media and stuff, not necessarily doxing someone, But like you leave a bad review and say, yeah, that guy was a homophobe.
Yeah.
He was him. I was holding hands with another man. He freaked out.
Anyway, you want to talk about blood oil, because this one physically made you boil.
Yeah, this one pisses me off. So, for a little bit of pretext, a few years back, Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, was in charge and made the call to have Jamal Khashoggi, he was a Washington Post journalist, I believe, and he had him killed in a consulate, literally chopped up with bone saws, and he murdered this journalist. Now, when this all happened under Trump when he was president, and Trump went and talked to the guy, and then he comes out and he's like, well, the guy said he didn't do it. What do you want me to say? And so it kind of went under the rug. It got pushed under the rug, and then COVID happened, and then Trump talked to them and asked them to continue to pump oil during the COVID pandemic. And they did, to the point where crude oil was being sold by the refineries, asking people to buy it off of them because they had so much. Fast forward 2 years later, well, a year later, we have a presidential election coming up. And dear old Uncle Joe comes out and then calls Mohammed bin Salman a pariah and a murderer, and says that he murdered the journalist, and he called him out for it. And we were actually there for it. We were like, hell yeah, like, good job. Like, we were glad you did this. And that gave us the comment. And then gas prices rose because then Saudi Arabia wasn't working with America. And so that made us come to the question of like morality versus commodity, and how at least we're standing for something with American values. We're protecting journalism. We're protecting free speech. We're protecting a journalist who all he did was criticize the Saudi Arabian government, and they killed him. Gas prices damn near doubled. And we were all pissed. We felt it in our pockets, but it was, and like one of the biggest parts of it was this, because Saudi Arabia is in charge of OPEC. And so I always had this little bit of a like, this fucking sucks, but at least we're holding some sort of value. We're showing some sort of morality. Well, the Biden administration just came out and said now Mohammed bin Salman will have immunity from any civil suits or any lawsuits or any cases against him for this murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So first off, I want to say is this is what we get when when we deal in policy that is revolving around woke identity politics that sway back and forth at the slightest breeze. And I'm pissed because I actually defended the guy when people said this about this, and I was like, well, like, we got to stand for something. I gave Biden like credit for it. I'm like, at least he's standing for something. We might have to temporarily have higher gas prices while we deal with getting Venezuela on board with shit, and figuring out this other stuff.
Well, let me interrupt you for a second, Corey, because there would have been a really easy way to do both. There would have been a really easy way to condemn Saudi Arabia, and also, at least keep gas prices from shooting through the roof, which is at least starting your infrastructure to be able to refine more oil, because we have plenty of oil. That's the issue.
It's the refining issue. They're at max capacity.
We have to ship it overseas to get it refined and then shipped back to us, which just fundamentally, you say that to somebody and their head explodes. Like, how the fuck is that possible? Why do we have all this oil that we have, but we can't use it because we can't refine it? Now, I know that bringing new refineries online can take a while, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of infrastructure. But instead of going, okay, we condemn Saudi Arabia and we condemn KBS for the murder of show, or I'm sorry, KBS. I'm thinking
you got Founders on the brain.
Founders Breakfast Stout, yeah. MBS. Instead, what we could have done was do that, but also go, look, it might hurt for a little bit, but we are going to put more money into infrastructure, to building more refineries, to getting more gas going in this country. It's going to take a while, and it's going to hurt for a minute. But no, what does he do instead? He doubles down on the green energy stuff that we're just not ready for yet.
And then what that does too is it makes oil refinery companies not want to invest in refineries because of the fact they think that they're going to be taken away from them. Where's the investment if they're not going to be able to actually get money, an ROI from it?
That was the issue with what Biden did. It's like you can't condemn our longest, quote unquote petro ally, and then say we're gonna go all in on EVs and
just to turn around and then cuck to him, dude.
well,
Why the fuck did I pay double the price in gas for the last year then? There's no morality standpoint. Biden bent over. Gas is through the roof.
it was
over
not,
what?
it was
Some
not
senile buffoon just making gas?
And like I said, I think even there are going to be some conservatives that are never going to be all right with anything Biden says or does, just like there are some liberals that'll never be sensible towards anything Trump or any other Republican does. But I think you could have even gotten the center right conservatives on board if you had just gone, we condemn Saudi Arabia for Jamal Khashoggi.
We're building refineries here at Tom to kick rocks.
It's going to hurt at the pump for a little while, but we're putting a lot of infrastructure dollars into building refineries so we can refine our own oil and keep it more on our shores. But that's the thing, is none of these politicians are always what have you done for me lately? They're always short-term results, and it's really hard for a president to go, hey, this is going to sting for a few years. It's going to sting, but we're going to make it better, and we're going to hold a petrostate accountable for their atrocities. But nope.
Just cuck to him. Dude, all this does is empower Saudi Arabia to pull more bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has immunity to do it again. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yep.
And, oh, thank you, sir. May I have another? Let me give you a little fist bump. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? That's what that little slit in the ass crack of his pants is for. So I was always wondering what that was all about.
What the fuck, dude? You know what I mean? You figure collectively, if gas prices are double, if you're spending $50 a week on gas, that's $2,500 a year. If that's doubled, you're spending everyone collectively probably spent an extra $1,000, $2,000 to $4,000 a year in gas for nothing, for fucking nothing.
I mean, we showed Saudi Arabia that we sort of sometimes kind of mean business for 10 minutes and then we take it back.
I guess so.
Something.
Yeah. We're big tough guys. The American spirit.
It's like putting a kid in timeout and giving him a lollipop while he's in timeout. Here's something to do while you're sitting over there.
Yeah, you put him in timeout for 10 minutes and a minute goes by and he's like, I'm tired. And you go, all right, bud, you're good. Oh my God. So Biden sucks. But we could talk about why the alternative sucks.
False flags are going from a geopolitical problem to a domestic political problem, and that's a problem's problem. So
that's every man's problem.
We are used to false flags when it comes to our foreign policy, right? When it comes to whether it's a coup in South America or Ukraine for that matter, or whether it's bombing in Syria, whatever it is, a false flag is essentially an attack. It doesn't have to be a physical attack. It can be a cyber attack. It can be a verbal attack or whatever. An attack done by you to make it seem like your enemy did it, right? That's essentially what a false flag is.
Yeah.
And my shitty definition of a false flag. And we've always had that going on geopolitically around the globe because we are the world's police and we have to make sure that the rest of the world sees whatever we're looking at for oil or resources. We have to make sure that the rest of the world knows that they're bad guys. So we kind of just force them to be bad guys. We make things up about them. Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction, which we all knew was bullshit from the start. And, helping Al-Qaeda with Al-Qaeda. Who am I, Rush Limbaugh?
Al-Qaeda.
And supposedly helping Al-Qaeda with 9/11, which again we also knew was bullshit.
Which, go back to Saudi Arabia, there wasn't one goddamn person on those planes except from Saudi Arabia.
We need them. They're not the bad guys right now. We need them. So they
Thank
can't
you, sir. May I have another?
So hold on. We did this out of order. I gotta change my note page. There we go. So
I'm sorry, it just seemed like a good segue.
Trump's DHS is being accused by Senator Ron Wyden. I actually have it in front of me here. Democrat from Oregon, of basically manufacturing fake terrorist plots by Antifa to gain political advantage in the 2020 election. Here's the thing. I don't know that necessarily means Trump knew about them directly, right? It doesn't necessarily mean Donald Trump drew up the plans, although I wouldn't be shocked if he did. I could just see him in there drawing with a Sharpie on a little.
Yeah, well, the way he was touting it, remember, he probably definitely had a huge sway in it because the whole time it's Antifa. All these protesters are paid by the radical left Democrats.
Right, but here's the thing: do you not think that Trump's DHS would just be like, "Well, we kind of want him to stay in office. We could really run with this Antifa thing, and then just kept feeding him Antifa information that was bullshit."
That's true. That could be, yeah.
He didn't actually know about. But here's a statement from Senator Wyden regarding this. This report is 76 pages of stunning incompetence, mismanagement, and abuse of power by the Trump administration's Department of Homeland Security in order to politicize and inflame conflict in Portland. Independent investigators can confirm that DHS intelligence officials lacked basic knowledge of their authority, what constituted real threats, and when it was appropriate to investigate Americans who were suspected of no crime at all. It documents how untrained analysts investigated journalists, and there's more information that I believe the public deserves to know, but has been redacted from said report. I'll continue working to make those items public. However, it is clear that there needs to be a top to bottom overhaul of the Department of Homeland Security's Office Intelligence and Analysis to address the systematic problems identified in this review. So,
yeah, and I'll go on to add another part. And it says the report describes attempts by top officials to link protesters to an imaginary terrorist plot in an apparent effort to boost Trump's re-election odds, raising concerns now about the ability of a sitting president to co-opt billions of dollars worth of domestic intelligence assets for their own political game. DHS analysis recounted orders to generate evidence of financial ties between protesters in custody, an effort that they had not filed, or had they not failed, would have seemingly served to legitimize President Trump's false claims about Antifa, an organization that even his most loyal intelligence officers failed to drum up proof ever existed. And just so everyone knows, we're on Gizmodo.com, and the title of the article is Homeland Security Admits It Tried to Manufacture a Fake Terrorist for Trump.
Well, I was actually reading it directly from Ron Wyden's website.
Okay. So I'm on the article I have is just Gizmodo.
Well, I just wanted the statement from Ron Wyden. Now, look.
Absolutely.
Corey and I have not yet had the opportunity to read this entire report. But this isn't even necessarily meant to shit on Donald Trump, because the first thing I thought of when I saw this was January 6th and the aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Same type of shit.
To me,
the same playbook.
Yeah, to me, January 6th was not organized by liberals, was not organized by Antifa. This is a bunch of
and it wasn't organized by Proud Boys or anything like that necessarily. It was just a bunch of fucking idiots. Yeah.
It was a bunch
of
helped that some of which are the 2% of actual Republicans that fell for the QAnon nonsense, because a lot of Republicans like to pretend that number is zero. It's not zero, but it is very small.
No, there's some of them that are in the House of Representatives.
That's true. Yeah, like 1 or 2%, right? That tracks.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that Corey and I think that January 6th was like a false flag attack arranged by Democrats. But what we did see was Democrats use it to politicize the 2020 election. What's the Fed's name? Ray Epps. Like, why the hell was this guy trying to get why the hell was this Fed trying to get people into the building? Why in the hell were people charged with misdemeanor what's the word I'm looking for? Trespassing charges, sentenced to months in prison.
Yeah.
It's just stuff that doesn't make sense. As much as January 6th was an awful event,
well, it's just
you get this idea that Democrats they loved it because they got to use it as a tool. Every time anything shitty happens in this country, it has to be used by a political party as a tool to win fucking elections. And it's disgusting. And I'm sick of it.
You're right. And this is why you always hear me talk about precedents and how important it is, because this same playbook they used for January 6th of just mass surveillance, picking everyone up, doing mass arrests and things like that is the same shit that Trump's DHS started in 2020 during the protest during George Floyd, as evidenced by this very article we're talking about. The same playbooks are talking about, just unmarked vehicles, picking people up, not necessarily arrested, just detained, so their information is taken and gathered and put into a giant database. What happened then under Trump, under his guidance, is what happened in 2020, January 6th, or 2021 and January 6th. And no, it was 2021, January 26th,
Yeah.
January 6th. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always, 2020 elections, following year. Anyways, this is why anytime there's precedent set, both parties will use these tools to exacerbate their power, increase their reach, encroach on our personal liberties. And what happened on January 6th is the same, like I was saying, that's what they used. The DHS of January 6th used the same shit that they used during the protests under Trump. And it's just absolute bullshit. It's a complete infringement on your Fourth Amendment, on your First Amendment, and it encompasses your Second Amendment. Yeah, dude, it's all fucked.
And this is why Corey and I refer to Republicans and Democrats.
Hello, Casey Lee, in real life.
Two wings of the same bird. Because while one party might set a precedent to try and fuck the other party, that might be true. Well, now you've set a precedent for the other party to go back and do the same
fuck
shit.
You right back. Yeah.
And now these two political parties are actually using the American people as political weapons.
Mm-hmm. Political pawns.
This isn't a Democrat thing or a Republican thing. It's a fucking UniParty thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't see it by now and you still want to go, well, Republicans are a little worse because they're blah, 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 or Democrats are worse because blah. If you want to keep playing that game, you're going to continue to give them power.
Exactly.
Continue to give the UniParty power. If we want to continue to play that game, play it if you want to. I'm out. I quit that game a few years back when Corey and I started the show. So
yeah, and it's this constant just kneecapping of each other and a race to the bottom. That is just absolutely insane to me. And and when I heard about this, I was like, yeah, that sounds awfully similar to what happened in 2020.
Oh, don't I know it, Corey? Do you have anything else you wanted to mention when it came to that? Because
I
think the GOP investigation, or the possible GOP investigation into Hunter Biden, is probably our last big topic of the morning. I should say.
It's just, I guess I'll just wrap it up real quick that when you have one party such precedence of overreach on the American citizens, the next party is going to grab that ball and just run with it, as evidenced by Trump doing the Antifa thing, just arresting random people, saying that they're all Antifa or part of this organization, and they weren't. And then the Democrats doing the same damn thing during January 6th and saying that they're all fucking domestic terrorists, even though they're not.
Yep.
It's two groups with different ideologies who are a bunch of fucking idiots.
It's political ping pong, and they're starting to use the American people as the ball at this point, and that's what's fucked up about it.
It is.
And
we're all terrorists. We're all racists
or socialists.
We're all racist, socialist, terrorists, Dan.
Communists,
depending on what the political whim decides we are that day.
Yeah. So Brandon is in big trouble now, boy.
Oh boy, this time they're gonna get him.
So I mean, this is just another example of the fucking political ping pong that we have to deal with now in this two-party system. I think this is just another monster example of it, because you already have higher ups in the GOP coming out and saying that they've started preparing the House investigation.
Capcoms. That's what they are. Looney's right. They're Capcoms.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Preparing the House investigation into Hunter Biden. And I look at this and I'm torn on it. And I'm torn on. I'll tell you why I'm torn on it. I'm torn on it because I want to know the truth, right? Like, obviously, if there's something nefarious that happened with either just Hunter or Hunter and Joe, I want to know about it, right? And it looks like obviously there's probably something there, because why would there be admitted suppression of that story during the 2020 election? We don't know what it is. We don't know what's involved. A lot of people like to think they do, but they don't. So I want to know the truth. But so that's the reason why I'm for this investigation. The reason I don't like it is because now we're entering that phase of, it is just again, political ping pong. Democrats investigate Republicans, Republicans investigate Democrats, Democrats investigate Republicans, and we just keep hitting the ball back and forth across the table. And I can't imagine a scenario where anything
And they
actually
could walk and chew gum at the same time.
And haven't Democrats had the smoking gun on Trump for whatever it is, 7 years now, and it's not there. I have to believe this is probably going to be similar. I want to get your opinion on it, Corey, and then I've got like 4 different scenarios of how I think this is going to play out, and they have equal opportunity of actually happening.
Yeah, so this one, it's important. I think it's important because of the fact that, like, the CBS just came out with an article. It says forensic analyst of copy of Hunter Biden's laptop data shows no tampering, that everything on there is legitimate. There's emails talking about the money to the big guy. There's definitely a lot of shit in it that we need to look at. But this is what pisses me off about it. I first started really diving into politics, because the big boy, the Cheeto in chief, Donald Trump, forced everyone to pay attention to politics. I personally didn't like the guy. And you saw constantly just attacks on him, all of this narrative about being taking the high road. This is a constitution. We need to protect the democracy. We need accountability. We need transparency. We need all of these different things, right? They said all of that. I'm like, damn straight. We need this in our government. But then as soon as it flips, things are just brushed under the rug. It's called misinformation. It's called fake. And now it's all of a sudden the Republicans are using the Democrats' tropes and the Democrats using the Republicans' tropes. Because what pisses me off, like, picture with me, if you will, this being Jared Kushner's laptop. This being Steve Bannon's laptop.
Yeah, it'd be all over the place.
This being Ivanka Trump's laptop.
And it would have been all over the place during the 2020 election. Yeah, no, we get it. I mean, it's a bias of the media. Everybody knows that exists.
Looney said she'd love to see, I'd love to see Trump's personal laptop. It's probably dirtier than a third world country, man. I don't
even want to know what kind of foot porn it's on.
And like, we all know Trump is a piece of shit and he's corrupt. But you know what? I think Biden is too. And it's frustrating that the media, the media and the narratives seem to just give some people passes and then attack other people. And it's like Jimmy Dore says, it's because Trump accidentally says things that he's not supposed to.
He accidentally tells the truth sometimes. The truth just kind of accidentally slips out of his mouth.
It slips out when they're like, Trump, what do you mean? Russia does all these bad things. And he goes, well, so do we. Everyone's like, oh!
That's what's so interesting about, like, when Donald Trump isn't president, I think he's one of the funniest people on planet Earth. I really do.
Yeah, when he's not sitting there tickling the red button. It's like, look at this fucking idiot.
I don't remember if I had anything else on that.
So one of the big pieces I had for this.
Oh, yeah, I was going to tell you the 4 scenarios. You want the 4 scenarios?
Oh, yeah. Give me those 4 scenarios.
So this is the way I think this investigation into Hunter Biden's laptop, it's going to play out in one of the following ways. And we can go over which one. We can start taking bets from the people if they want to. So number 1 is the GOP actually finds something legitimate or perceived as legitimate, depending on who you ask, because there's going to be some people that never believe it. The House impeaches Joe Biden.
I was just going to say an impeachment. Yep.
But they don't get a conviction out of the Senate.
No.
So that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is the GOP finds something legit on Hunter, but struggle to legitimately connect it to Joe.
And then it's just
which is obviously going to generate some conspiracy theories in general.
And it would be conspiracy theories and 2 years of just hit pieces on Biden.
Scenario.
And it would just be what happened to Trump. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, right?
Because let's be honest, we know that Biden, I'm sure, is as smart as Teflon Don when it comes to keeping his ducks in the road and not get busted by any sort of legal system.
Well, yeah, he's been in Congress and / the presidency for it's 85 years.
Yeah, you don't think he knows how to make sure things are smooth?
So scenario number 3 is the GOP finds something small, a la Trump's quid pro quo thing with Zelensky, right? And the GOP refuses to let it go. Just continues to push how bad it is. And scenario number 4 that I had is the GOP finds nothing, and 1/3 of Americans believe they did anyway. A la most of the Mueller report. So
it's probably going to be a conglomerate of a few of those things intertwined and mixed with each other. Yeah. If they find something, they're going to definitely do an impeachment. Just because their boy Trump got one.
So yeah, so even if it's something small like Trump's quid pro quo with Zelensky, you think they'll push for impeachment? I mean, the Democrats did.
Yeah, the Democrats did
over that. So yeah, you're probably right. And
which, in all honesty, the word where Trump fucked up with that was making it about himself. If he would have just stuck to it and said, "Hey, I need to see this shit," like before I give you more shit.
Do you think there's a phone call, a recorded phone call of Donald Trump with any world leader where he's not making it about himself?
No, Biden's the same way. Yeah. Remember what, like, when the thing with the Ukraine, the video that people were sharing about him talking about how he wasn't going to give money to Ukraine unless they fired somebody.
That's a quid pro quo. What?
That's a quid pro quo, but it wasn't a personal one. That was him representing the U.S. government. Donald Trump said, "I need you to do something for me."
Mm-hmm.
So the verbiage was different.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it. And Trump, honestly, probably, in Trump's dumbass way he speaks, he probably I'll even give him the benefit of doubt. When he said me, he meant his administration and all that stuff. But he's such a narcissist. It's all about him.
So what do you think? What do you think the odds are? I'm the sports gambler here, so maybe I'll create the odds. But what do you think the odds are that in the next 2 years under this Republican House that Joe Biden
gets impeached
by the House? I think it's pretty damn good, dude. I think
it is. I think, yeah, he probably will be.
I think it's over 50-50, like towards impeachment.
I would take that bet.
Because I think that's what this political ping pong that we go through in the end that is now the new norm in the United States is just what it's going to be. Every fucking president's just going to get impeached from now on.
Yeah, and that coincides with your other prediction. That coincides with the other prediction that you said that we're going to see just one-term presidents for the next couple terms. It's just going to hop back and forth.
Yeah,
we're at a phase in our country right now where the two parties are finally like the wool has been removed from the eyes, and independents now hold more than 1/3 of the country's voter base. Like, the two parties are losing their power.
Looney's got an interesting take here. This mess might lead to a more transparent government. I can see that argument, right? When you have the two parties being so polarized, the only issue I have with that is that it's when it becomes it's when it becomes a vendetta, right? Because there are certain parts of what was done to Donald Trump that were legit and real, like we just talked about with the false flags in Portland. But then there are other parts of it that really actually were a witch hunt. And that's probably what you're going to. I would imagine that's probably what you're going to see with Hunter Biden's laptop. Is you're going to see some stuff that's real, that's legit, and then you're going to see certain parts that are a witch hunt, and it's going to be really, really hard for people to the American people to let go of their emotions for how they feel either way about this guy and focus on what's real. And it's we talked about this a couple months ago, Corey. I just wanted to compare it to like things that people say about Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert. Like, these people are crazy enough on their own. I'll even throw AOC in there. These people are crazy enough on their own. You don't have to make shit up about them.
Right.
Because then it makes you look dishonest and the reporting's not real anymore.
Yeah. Because right as I read that, when you were saying that, I was going to say there could be a fifth option where the Republicans just get fixated on the pictures of Hunter Biden in his fucking dumbass blazer shirtless. And then that just fills up the noise of the whole argument about what happened. And everyone's just going to be sharing memes of him with a crack pipe in his mouth. And that's going to be the end of it. Just like Trump was able to maneuver through all of this illegal shit because he made so much noise with his bombastic, weird, eccentric ways.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah.
Just get ready. The political ping pong ball is about to get hit and make its way to the other side of the table.
Yeah, I mean, and like Looney said, so that's when I saw, like when I was saying a little bit earlier when I was talking about how the transparent government. When I heard Democrats saying that shit, like they set a standard for me personally, to where that's where the standard has to be now for everybody. But then once the Democrats get in, they push the Hunter Biden laptop under the table. There's, you know what I mean, and it's just no. Why can't that standard still be the same within your own party? Look how long it took them to get rid of Cuomo.
Mm-hmm.
Me Too, Human Rights Foundation. Oh, apparently all the leaders of those foundations were actually fucking advising Cuomo during his sexual assault.
You're only a bad
assertions.
guy. You're only a rapist or a sexual assaulter or a sexual harasser if you
If
play.
you're on the other side.
That's the only time. It's the only time it's possible. They can't. And it's like it's so interesting to me because I think you and I have talked about this political realignment that we're going through. I think a lot more people are waking up to the fact that both of these parties are fucking nonsense.
Two wings of the same bird.
And our system doesn't work. And we have to find a way to organize. It's going to take a while, but we have to find a way to organize to change these things. I don't even know if it'll ever happen, but I'm not going to stop trying. I'm not going to stop fighting for it. And I don't think you are either. So I think there's just more and more people that, watch and listen to shows like ours and others that kind of preach the same message that we do. And there's a million of them out there. And if you love them, listen to them because they have a lot of brilliant things to say, a lot more brilliant than us. But it's just, I still have this hope, even though we talk about this nonsense every week, because it makes me hopeful that people are actually paying attention to this stuff as much as it depresses me that it's occurring in the first place, if that makes sense.
We're doing God's work, Dan.
You want to end with a couple of bits of good news. So we have, we could talk about Pelosi being out, but all we have to say is that she's no longer going to be the speaker, and that makes
that's a bit of good news.
Yeah, that we don't even need to talk.
And then what is it? What the guy's coming in though is another milquetoast establishment.
Yeah.
Wheeler. And then everyone is like, oh, but isn't he like the first black gay guy?
In the world? No, I don't think so.
No, ever, Dan, in the entire world. No, what is it? I forget what it was. It was something about it, but it was something to do with identity. They're like, it's the first guy to be this, and it's like, great. I don't give a shit. Is he gonna help the American people?
It's just like the situation that we're in, where it's like, God damn it! As much as I hate Joe Biden, please don't die, because Kamala Harris is truly, truly worse and way worse. And she was given that job for identity reasons. Right. And I was even saying when Joe Biden was choosing his running mate, I was like, okay, look, he's going to do the black woman thing. Can you go with Susan Rice at least? At least make it Susan Rice. Please don't make it Kamala Harris. For the love of God.
Rice, yeah. I mean, there's people out there that are just so qualified.
I get, you know what? It could have been worse. He could have made it Stacey Abrams. That might have been the only one that would have been worse.
The one that didn't concede. Yeah. No one talks about how she didn't concede.
She did this time. She did.
Was this for the first time or the second time?
I don't remember. I'm hoping for both. But the other two bits of good news I had that you had come up with, I had the psychedelic caucus, and I had the one subject rule by Matt Gaetz, and not something that I expected out of somebody like Matt Gaetz. To be
right. With you. Yeah, we could brush over both of them real quick. I don't have a banner for the Matt Gaetz one, but basically he wants to institute a bill to where when any sort of legislation is brought to the floor, it's not a huge fucking pamphlet with a bunch of earmarks on it to give a bunch of people payoff so they vote for it. One subject line, just single line items to vote on. And I think that that's just so much better, because it's like, how the hell are we going to, like, they're in there voting on bills for like green energy, but in that bill, there's an earmark for $1 billion that goes to a Middle Eastern country for drones.
See, the way things are just thrown into bills to get certain subject matter passed. I've always hated that about the way that our Congress deals with lawmaking. Here's the thing, and this is honestly, this might just be the cynical nihilist coming out in me. On the surface, I love this idea, right? We're gonna vote on this one issue, right? That would be fantastic if you had a Congress that had the ability to be civil with each other. Because here's what I think would happen if this rule actually went through. I don't think it has a chance to do so.
Oh, he also wants to ban stock trading.
Here's what I think would happen.
That's good news. But
You're gonna have somebody bring it. You're gonna have a Republican, let's say, bring a bill to the floor. That's one subject. Let's vote. Let's take a vote on this, and then you're gonna have some Democrats and even certain Republicans go, no, we have to vote on this first. Let's do this first. Let's do this second. We'll make a deal. We'll vote for these two things if we vote on this one first, and that'll be the new infighting that you see within Congress, and you're even gonna see it within parties.
Yeah,
you will. If this happened,
you will see it in parties, but that just makes the parties, if they want to be more efficient, they have to get a stronger whip. They have to get a stronger speaker. But you can't have some milquetoast 80-year-old who's just all about making money in the stock market.
Do you see the scenario where this could actually make Congress even less effective if it?
So, but they do the same thing now, but like that's how all the earmarks happen. They go, well, we're going to vote on this, and they go, well, I'm only going to vote on that if you add this, and then someone goes, well, if he's adding that, then I want this added.
Right, but then a vote actually ends up taking place. I just feel like there's just nothing's ever going to get voted on because they're going to be fighting over what needs to be voted on first.
That's true. But then maybe that'll hopefully, in my drunk blissful optimism, that it'll just bring the actual issues will rise to the top.
Well, and here's here's something that I thought of right before we started the show that might fix that
ranked choice voting.
No, that might fix just that one potential hiccup of we have to vote on this. No, we have to vote on this. No, we have to vote on that. You have to vote on them in chronological order.
Yeah.
From the time that they're submitted, chronological order solves the problem. But you got to believe that part wouldn't go in.
They find a way to bitch about everything. And they find a way to make it all slow. And this is why big government sucks.
How about the psychedelic caucus, Corey? This is
good news.
Bag right here.
So right now I'm on marijuanamoment.net. And I'm just going to read it from the top. A pair of bipartisan lawmakers announced on Thursday that they formed a first of its kind congressional caucus dedicated to psychedelic therapy. Reps Lou Carrera from California, Jack Bergman from Michigan, one Republican, one Democrat, will co-chair the Congressional Psychedelics Advancing Clinical Treatments PAC, the PACT caucus, the Psychedelics Clinical Treatment Caucus, which will focus on exploring psychedelic research to alleviate the U.S. mental health crisis. And so basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a caucus to help fight for legislation that is there to help fucking people who have PTSD, depression, and stuff like that, because more and more science is coming out proving that psychedelics, things like psilocybin, ketamine, LSD, when done right under the watchful eye of a therapist, can really...
92% said if I did, they'd vote for me.
92% said if I passed mushrooms, they would vote for me. But yeah, no, and it's another alternative instead of just giving people a bunch of SSRIs and just numbing them out for the rest of their life. This is a way that people can face their demons. I'm got a brain fart on a word I'm looking for. Decipher, all the shit going on in their heads and reflect on it. And it's something that would really help people. Yeah, dementia too. So dementia, I read somewhere that mushrooms can help with dementia. I forget where I read it. And TBIs as well. I used to work with traumatic brain injury people, and that's a hell of a thing. It's insane how somebody can just get hit in the head with a basketball and they're different for the rest of their lives.
This is all good, and I hope it goes through. But what I was really hoping that you were going to tell me the Psychedelics Caucus was what their main goal was
just get high.
To just dose everybody in Congress.
Dude, if they all got a hit of acid, they might get their shit together. They might.
Yeah, they might actually say, "Oh wow, maybe we should get some shit done. Maybe we should stop being pro-war."
I told you,
everywhere in the world.
My self-paratherapeutic doses of some psilocybins have gotten me to eat healthier, and then they've gotten me to do more exercise.
That's why you're so thin and handsome.
For the people just watching, I just like caress
Oh.
my beard.
Corey, it's been a brilliant brunch. I think we should
It's a good brunch, Dan.
probably get
We're
this
some brunch buddies.
probably get out of here. We want to thank Looney Flo for joining us on Twitch and participating. Thanks a lot, Looney. Be sure to stay tuned here for Corey to tell you where else you can find our catalog. Casey Lee, Bright and Eyes as always. We love you, and Nolan for all your participation in tonight's show. Corey, tell the people where they can find us if they want to get the back catalog.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is podpage.com/Libservative. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. And you can find our transcripts at libservativepodcast.wordpress.com. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
And we are normally live on Thursday
Thursdays.
evenings at 7 o'clock. We had Thanksgiving, so we did a little brunch special here on Saturday, which we do on occasion.
And go blue. Today's the
Go Blue!
game.
Go Blue!
The game. I'm going to be in my couch eating pizza and drinking beers and rooting for the boys in blue.
We'll be doing something similar.
Not the cop, not the muscle for the over ever expanding government, but the maize in blue.
Maize and blue. Until next time, he's been Corey Walsh.
And he has been Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative, and we're
out of here.
out of here.